Richard, can you give us a tip and then just briefly say, okay, 31st of Jan, what do we do now?
Okay, I'll keep this brief. I think my number one benefit for doing Dry January is to take control. That's the number one benefit I think anyone's aiming for, and that control must be your control. You know, if absence is not for you, no one's pushing it on you. So feeling completely actually selfish about what you want your relationship with alcohol to be. And it might change over time, but whatever's right for you at the time is right for you. And my top tip relates directly to that, which is don't let anybody tell you you're wrong. You will, you know, in this room, I feel so safe. Out there, it's fucking terrifying sometimes. The marketing we experience, of course, which I can get onto later in this afternoon session, but also even those closest to us who will judge us. And we have enough hard time judging ourselves without also being judged by anyone else. I just think just put up that, you know, I'm going to sound really cheesy. We have one life. It is finite. Make the most of it. And I think for many people, alcohol is one of the things that gets in their way of living the best life they can. Don't let it.
Excellent, thank you. So true. And I think you're so right, you know, Richard, because we all will come across people who, you know, they're drink pushers, and you're trying your best and feeling, you know, like a fledgling non-drinker and trying to kind of do this dry thing for January, and there'll be people close to you saying, don't be boring, and, you know, just have one. That's the classic, isn't it? So I think, you know, it's amazing to be able to immerse yourself in everything here. Immerse yourself in communities and the blogs that you read and the podcasts you listen to, and actually immerse yourself in it. So obviously I can carry on asking questions, but I'm sure you would have some questions that you would like to ask. So do we have this? You want this mic, yeah? If you want to, you can ask the panel generally and we'll see who would like to answer, or if you want to ask a specific person, that's fine too.
Hello, I am a member of One Year No Beer, and I'm on the forum quite a bit on Facebook. And I see an awful lot of posts about people that say they feel really boring when they're not drinking, or that they're told that they're boring. So I just wonder what the panel's advice to people that feel that they are boring when they're not drinking.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think Catherine Gray was saying all these words need a rebrand. You know, phrases like stone cold sober, you know, need to be called sunshine warm sober. It all needs a rebrand. Who would like to answer that first?
Well, firstly, I'm not going to say the story again. I just tell them the pants thing, right? So that works for me. There is no direct link between fun and alcohol. That's causal, you know. So when we're drinking, we're always doing something else, relaxing, chatting, having a, you know, and it's often the thing we're doing, not the alcohol, that's causing that thing. So I, to be honest, I also think there is a certain amount of not getting into debate with people like that. And I would just say, if people want to think that, we can't control what they think. And actually, you can get into a bit of a negative argument with them. I'm not boring, yes you are. It's like, well, it's back in pantomime season again, right? You know, I would just avoid it. If people want to think you're boring, let them think it.
Lucy, I'd love you to just pick up on this just for a second. I'll pass you this mic. I'm just wondering whether one of the things that, you know, along the same lines, when you tell other people, you know, in your community, is there any tips for how you tell other people or what you say to other people?
Well, how you tell other people that you're not drinking? Well, I think with the boring thing, I mean, personally speaking, when I drank, I was just a nightmare when I drank, and I was probably very boring company. So I'm definitely a far more interesting person without alcohol in my life. I do a lot more. I try new things all the time. My horizons have broadened massively since I stopped drinking. Because I think there is a misconception that alcohol makes you a bit wild and spontaneous and crazy, but actually it really restricts your world. And my world revolved around the same small group of boring drunk people, the same boring pub full of boring drunk people, and spending all my money on boring drink. So it wasn't really a very exciting world that I lived in. And since I've stopped drinking, I've just done so many amazing things, met some amazing people from all over the world, and completely changed my life. So I definitely don't think there's any truth in that. And I think in terms of people challenging you about it and asking you about it, the best way of dealing with it, certainly the way that I would recommend anybody dealing with it, is owning your sobriety and just taking ownership of it, not being ashamed of it. If you are proud of being sober, there's very little that anybody can do to drag that away from you. And, you know, if you're kind of apologetic about it and worried about it, then people will just hone in on that. If you're really proud of it, there's not really much they can do to challenge you.
Do you have any other questions? Wow, we've managed to silence them. How do we do that? We've got loads more. Yeah, how many of you are, that's a very good question. How many of you are doing Dry January? Wow. Okay, amazing. Yeah, of course, please do.
Sorry. Also, if the people who tell you that you're boring when you drink looked at some statistics, they would understand that it's kind of close-minded and small-minded to take such a problematic drug and normalize it because the government has told you it's okay to. You don't get put under pressure and called boring if you don't do a line of coke, you know. And it is widely acknowledged that if we classified alcohol today based on how many people it kills and how highly addictive it is, you can die from alcohol withdrawal. You don't die from opiate withdrawal, you know. So even knowing things like that is important to kind of tell people and say, it's not absurd that I would treat my relationship with alcohol as if I had an allergy. And also, I know this is me getting on my soapbox, but if all the drugs were legal, we would not be choosing booze. No way. So I think that's the other thing. For some people, it's great. And for other people, it's not. And I don't think you should go around having the sort of fights that I get myself into all the time with this argument, but it's kind of small-minded. It just doesn't agree with you, the same way I don't eat cake. You know? Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Andy, just on a similar note, within your community, you know, just the title, 1 year no beer, there's going to be people who think, oh, hold on a minute, you know, big boozy blokes, you know, they want their beer. How are they going to kind of start off by saying, no, actually, you know, I'm not drinking? Aren't they going to get the line of, oh, come on, you know, you're no fun, as the audience member said there. What do you find when people first start? You know, is it very tentative? Basically, what I'm trying to ask is, do you find that a lot of people, when they start out, really are nervous of other people's reactions?
Oh, absolutely. And we ran a survey of over 1,000 people. We discovered that 85% felt that they'd been recently bullied or pressured into drinking. It is absolutely nuts. And this, I think, is something that we really have to go after, and we're really going to, as a movement, really try and tap into this, because I think this is where a lot of the problems are coming from. People feel pressured to do this thing they don't want to do anymore. Yeah. You know, and I think this is really important. So for us, very much, the whole idea of the challenge was to give people that excuse. Yeah. Because just for lots of people turning up in a social environment and saying, I'm not drinking, it's not acceptable. As harsh as that is, it's true, isn't it? You know, group of guys and girls are just as bad. You know, you say you don't want to drink, and they don't accept the fact that you don't want to drink unless you've got some quote-unquote big problem. It's not acceptable. So for us, the challenge was great, because it was like, look, I'm doing a challenge. I'm doing a 28-day challenge, a 90-day challenge, or 365 to get people off your back a little bit. But I think it's like, you know, when they say dogs can smell fear. And I think that's what happens when people in the early days are like, I'm not drinking tonight. Everyone can sort of sense it, and then you get the rubber arm twisting. But there comes a confidence over time where you just say, I don't drink. And that's it, it's done. No one even bats an eyelid, but that takes a bit of time to get to that place. So it definitely is a confidence thing. But again, a challenge idea, I think, can be really helpful. And it's just having that confidence to say, I don't drink.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is so frustrating, isn't it, that that because drink, yeah, I'll come to you in just a moment. You know, because drink is so much part of our culture. If we gave up smoking, you know, or ditched the cigarettes for a month, everyone would go, wow, well done you, so proud of you. The minute you ditch the drink, everyone goes, oh dear, did you have a problem? Oh, how awful for you. You know, can't you just have one? So this is ingrained in our culture, as we say. Let me take another question.
Hi, Lucy. Yeah, these you're all sort of grassroots movements. I'm just wondering if there are enough being done by, say, the government, who they're very anti-smoking, but they're not. They don't seem to be very anti-drinking. Do you think that a lot more could be done on a wider level? Could a lot more be done on a wider level to sort of tell people about the dangers rather than just a grassroots?
I think this is actually a really brilliant and challenging question. My starting point for this is, what do we expect governments to do? And my second question is, who likes being told what to do? So I hate being told what to do. My board of trustees will agree with you on that and shake their heads, because I don't always want to do what I'm told. And actually, I think most of us don't like being told what to do. And actually, I think governments have a challenging role to play. And I think we as a society, what do we want our elected representatives to do? Do we want them to provide information and knowledge? Maybe. Do any of us act on knowledge? Really? You know, I've known about drinking health for years. When I was 3.5 stone overweight a few years ago, I knew how to lose weight. Right? It wasn't a lack of knowledge. It wasn't the government not providing the information. It was a lack of. It was a change in here that needed to happen. So I kind of think we look to the government to solve some of these problems. I understand it. My politics are such that I won't declare them, but I kind of do look to governments to correct the wrongs of society. But I actually think this is an issue that's so sensitive. This particular administration, I won't go through it now, we can talk about it later, is absolutely saturated with conflicts of interest. It is funded by the alcohol industry at the highest levels. This administration will never take action on reducing alcohol harm, but we're going to carry on campaigning for it anyway. And when if and when there is a change of government, things may change on that. But I would say let's look to ourselves. We can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right, of course. On the good side, you know, there's an awful lot of people just getting on with it, right? And what I'd love to ask you is how, individually, how you think things have changed, because, you know, organisations like Club Soda, your communities, this event, it is becoming a trend, as we all know. It's increased massively. Even a year ago, I don't know whether there wasn't as many people talking about it. It is becoming, thankfully, less difficult, you know, to be in that space. We've seen all the amazing books out there. There's more and more quit lit books coming out. There's definitely a trend. So I'd be interested to know from a couple of you maybe, how you think you've seen the change in perhaps over a year, and what we might look forward to in another year's time. I mean, in a couple of years, is drinking going to be the new smoking? You know, is it going to be actually frowned upon, or is that going to take a longer time? Andy, do you want to answer first?
Yeah, so when I first looked at this probably 7-8 years ago, it felt like there was nothing available. Club Soda, I think, probably was just starting to get some traction. Lucy's movement, Soberistas, was just starting to get some traction. And it didn't feel like there was much available for me at that time. One of the reasons we set up One You Know Beer, but over the last 4 or 5 years, the change has been huge. And do you know what? And I think all credit to all the wonderful work that Laura's doing and Lucy and ourselves in some ways, because we need more of this stuff, right? As we said, the government's not getting involved. Yeah. I think people need community in the alcohol-free space, because the truth is, it's a solo mission, because most of your friends and family and loved ones we'll all still be drinking, right? It's definitely the case for me. So I think you need a place, a community that get it, that understand it, that can cheer you on, that can pick you up, that can support you. And that's why all the movements are amazing, in my opinion, and they're doing such a fantastic job. But it's snowballing. Every year there's more momentum. Like, we're the cool kids. The first time ever. Like, we're
we had the young
thing. We are.
the young Instagrammers yesterday. It was fantastic. You're absolutely right.
It is, and we're at the vanguard of something really special, and I think in a few years' time we're going to look back and go, oh my God, I can't believe that's how we behaved around alcohol. We are absolutely ahead of the game, so we're going to keep getting bigger, and this festival is a brilliant testament to that.
I love that hashtag, we are the luckiest. Yeah, that's cool. Just one more person want to maybe... Lucy, do you want the last word? Unless there's any other burning questions. Oh, hold on, we've got a burning question. No pressure. Comment, yeah?
Hi, my name's Lynn. Sorry, it's more comment than a question. So I've done, this is for anybody who's doing Dry January for the first time, I've done Dry January quite a few times, and I went into it with completely the wrong mindset, because it was always, you have such a boozy Christmas, and then you're like, I just need to get to January because I just can't drink anymore. And it was all about proving a point to yourself that, yeah, I can get through this. And I'd spent the whole month being really envious of everybody else around me drinking. And then I get to the 1st of February, you're like, yay, nice big glass of Malbec. And so it was last summer, I kind of decided I'm just going to start Dry January early. So I started on the 15th of July, which was the final of the World Cup, with 1 year no beer. And so I did the 90-day challenge, but the difference was, and I think you talked about this, it was mindset. I went into it and I'm like, do you know what? I actually want to take this seriously, and I want to question my relationship with drinking. So the point was just for anybody who's going into Dry January and is going into it with that kind of point of view, the biggest advice I can do is just tell you is educate yourself, read, get on to 1 year no beer, Sober Sisters. Like, I've read so many books, and it's just changed the way that I view alcohol, so much so that I got to the 90 days, I've just got to 180. I'm going for the 365, woohoo! And actually on the 1st of January this year, knowing that there'd be so many people going into Dry January, I did a post on Facebook, not to brag, just to say, I started 6 months ago, I feel great. I didn't know how bad I felt until I started to feel good, which just goes around my head constantly. And said, if anybody wants to get in touch with me and I can give you some pointers, please do. And privately, about 14 people got in touch, so much so that I've actually written up a whole little document of notes, which I'm now sharing with friends, which includes sending them your way, Andy. And being able to kind of have done that groundwork and be able to pass it on to people actually is really helping me to keep going, because it's making me feel more accountable as well. And anyway, sorry, I could talk about this all day. But no, the point is, if you're going into Dry January actually really wanting to make a difference, read books, listen to podcasts, and honestly, it's that educating yourself is the best thing you could do. So.
Fabulous ending. Thank you. We have to close. I do apologise. So I just want to say a huge thank you to all our panel. And I've got a brand new podcast, and Laura is the guest on the first one. Yay! And so in front of everyone, I want to ask all of these guys to be a guest. They can't say no, can they? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you, guys. You've been amazing. We'll see you later.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Janie.